Hi, I'm Diane Dayton. Welcome to Behind the Lines. Today we're going to talk about a great program from someone who's been involved with it for a long time and can tell you how wonderful it is. It's called the Fresh Air Fund. With Lisa Murray right now, you are a past host as well as chair. Thank you for being here.
Oh, thank you, Diane.
So for those who really don't know what the Fresh Air Fund is, what is it?
It is an incredible transformative program for children in New York City who meet certain requirements income-wise. And they allow these kids to come to different parts of the East Coast to be able to experience something a little different over the summer with host families.
Wow. And this program now started in 1877. I believe it's like 140 years old. It's just
amazing.
Over that. And it started out in Sherman, Pennsylvania, and there were 60 children that were then brought into the program, and now it's
hundreds and hundreds of children are affected every summer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what this is, it gives them an opportunity to do what?
So they're able to leave the environments in the city and be able to experience things they never would have the opportunities to do. Some of them including going to a public pool swimming for the first time, going to the beach with their host families, which many of them take them to the beach, and just doing the day-to-day things that we take for granted, like playing with our kids in the backyard when it's nighttime.
Yeah.
Really simple things that they don't do.
Now you have a really interesting story because Kevin has been your fresh air child, ages 6 through 14, is that correct?
Correct. My son was turning 6. Kevin was already 6, so they were basically the same age. And he stayed with us for 8 consecutive summers and was able to really get to know our family. We had him become part of our church life. He knew all the neighbor kids. And so we brought him in consecutively for those summers and did all kinds of different activities with him.
Oh, that's great. There's also an interesting story about how you found this program, and you were a very young child.
Yes, it's kind of cute. So when I was young, really young, about 5 years old, I would see the Fresh Air Fund bring the busloads of kids to a local shopping center close by to where we lived, and I would say to my mom, "Mom, who are those kids and where are they coming from?" And she would say, "Well, honey, they're part of the Fresh Air Fund, and I can't host a child, but maybe someday when you're older you will." And I said, "Oh, Mommy, when I become a mom, I'm going to host a child from the Fresh Air Fund." And all those years later, when my son was old enough to really appreciate it, be able to have a relationship with another child, I decided I was going to do it, and I did.
That's great. What does your mother say?
Oh my goodness. She was so excited because she very, very much remembers that moment.
Yeah. And Kevin also became a part of her life too, as well as the family, right?
Yes, he spent a lot. He did sleepovers with Nana, he calls her, and they held garage sales, and he just would go over and help her with small household tasks and things. So yeah, he tries to communicate with her regularly.
So when they come into your home as a part of this summer program, you personally extended it for different times of the year too, didn't you?
We did, because so technically the Fresh Air Fund brings kids in for a week to up to like 10 to 14 days. And for us, after that first summer, it wasn't enough. I was like, I can't wait another year to see this child. So we decided we were going to try and find an alternative way to get him in. He had never gone trick-or-treating. So we brought him in. He was probably about 9, and we brought him in for Halloween.
Wow.
And he was outside walking in our neighborhood, and he said to me, it was getting dark, and he said, "Mrs. Murray, don't we have to go in now?" And I said, "No, we can stay out. We can stay out as long as we want. We're safe here." So it just gave my son even an idea that not everybody lives like we do. So really good for my son.
So this program really offers a lot for the child as well as the host family too, doesn't it?
Yes, they really embrace and support the host parent. I particularly chaired a certain zip code, and I would interview the host families, screen the host families, and approve or not approve of some of the host families, because it's not for everyone. There has to be realistic expectations, and the whole family has to be on board or it's not going to work. So during the summer months, once they're approved, there's events, and you can go to those events here locally. They have swimming parties and picnics and things. So you can not only get to see the other Fresh Air children, but meet the other host families to be supportive.
Okay. So what does it take to be a host family?
Well, you need to go through the application process, and you can learn more about that by getting on their website. You also need to be screened through a local chairperson. So they will come to your home, look at your environment, make sure it's a safe environment to bring a child into, and also speak to all the members of the family to make sure everybody understands.
So in your opinion, what is it that it takes?
I think it takes a commitment, number one. Even if it's for those 7 or 8 days, you have to make a commitment. You're going to be around.
Okay.
You don't have a lot going on during that time. You have to really be able to spend quality time with that child. And if you do have things going on, that child has to be able to fit into those environments. So you have to make that commitment on time. You also have to have a family that's inclusive. That really allows for differences and tolerances, and is able to understand that not everyone has the same ideas about how to live. And so I think it's really great exposure for our community, especially, to be able to provide that for our children, our own children.
And coming here to Lancaster, Pennsylvania is just a beautiful backdrop to begin with. It's so different from where they're coming from.
Absolutely. The first night our Fresh Air child hopped out of my van in my driveway, he heard all the noises of the crickets and the bugs that were in my yard, and he stopped dead after he got out of the car and said, what's that noise? What's that noise? And I thought, wow, this is the most basic thing that we don't even think twice about. And my son's like, what's he talking about? Something we don't even hear anymore.
Right.
So yeah, it's a beautiful place to come. A lot of host families come from backgrounds where they may have farms. So the kids get to be on their farms and milk cows and play with the horses. So it's a really neat opportunity for these children.
Yeah, it really, really is. So when you were getting paired up, what were some of the considerations you wanted?
What's wonderful about the Fresh Air Fund, they ask a lot of questions. So number one, I wanted a boy. So you get to pick the gender, a boy or girl. I had a little boy. I wanted a little boy for him to play with. So, and you also get an age range.
Okay.
So they'll ask you, I didn't want a 16-year-old coming in. They can go through the program till they're 18. When my son was 5.
Right.
I wanted someone who was 5 or 6 starting the program. So they work with you on those things. Not everything's exact, but they get as close as they can. And so you just have to know what you're willing to negotiate and what are the things. No, I definitely have to have a boy, not a little girl.
Right.
But so pretty basic stuff.
Yeah, but the pairing is key to the success, isn't it?
Yes, it is. So the chair people that go out into the homes and interview, it's really critical for that relationship building to start to take place. And I would just ask a lot of questions about what do you expect for your family to get out of this, and what do you expect this child to get out of the experience with your family in this home. So those are key questions.
Yeah.
And you learn a lot.
Yeah. What I was really surprised with when I looked at the information on the website, which was just freshair, I believe, .org, right?
Yes.
Was how successful this program is in the view of the youth that were a part of it, and also the host family, the host parents. Really high numbers. And even 98% of the host families would recommend this program to friends and other family members.
Right. I know that my Fresh Air child came from a larger adopted family. There were 7 of them. He was the only one out of 7 to be part of the fund. His siblings were a little older, and his mother said she heard about the program from a neighbor who also had a child, and she raved about it and said this is a way to get your son out of the environment for the summer and be able to have him be exposed to other things.
That's really, really good. Looking at some of the other things, there's a sleep away program too, right?
Yes, I wasn't involved in any of the outside programs that they have, but they're all just such high quality programs. They have a leadership program.
Right. The enrichment leadership. So it's different areas where you could fit in.
Correct. Right? Correct. I am only really familiar with the host part of it, but I know they have a camp, and there's other things that you can get involved with. You just have to get more information on that.
I think Sharp Reservation up in the Hudson Valley is something that, I'd like to go there.
Right?
It's over 2,000 acres, and what you get to do there is great. The thing is, with this Fresh Air Fund, there are different ways that we can also participate. There's volunteer opportunities, right?
Right. So even if you don't want to host a child, you could do something like I did as a chair. I just so happened to be a chairperson while I was hosting my child. It just made sense for me. But you can certainly get to be a part of it. They need people at the pickup times. So when they're dropping the children off, they need somebody screening them, getting them off the buses, making sure they get with the host families. There's all kinds of opportunities to get involved, and you can get more information on that.
Absolutely, because I know there's also fundraising events, partnerships, whether it's community partnerships or corporate sponsorships, and also there's donations are always good too.
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah.
I know they have events regularly in New York City where they have very famous speakers that come in to talk about the Fresh Air program, so you can even get involved that way.
Yeah, celebrities are hopping on this. I think we were talking earlier about Gayle King.
Gayle King, Oprah's best friend. She's going to be in New York this Wednesday, and she's going to be hosting an event.
Yeah, that sounds absolutely wonderful. I know there were a lot of things that Kevin learned and what your family got too. And what we're going to do is we're going to take a brief pause, and we come back, we're going to talk about that wonderful relationship that really exists now and is even stronger than before. And you were at the graduation too.
Right.
We'll talk about that. Stay with us.
LCTV 66 is your community channel, and your donations keep us on the air and help to produce more local programs. Send your tax-deductible donation of $500, $100, or more to the address on the screen. Or think of it this way, for the price of a couple of movie tickets, you can help support your community channel. Send what you can and be a part of all that is good about Lancaster County. Thank you for your tax-deductible donation to LCTV 66, Lancaster's Connection.
Welcome back to Behind the Lines. We're talking about the Fresh Air Fund with Lisa Murray, who has been a past host and also chair. And Kevin was your Fresh Air child you had from ages 6 to 14. And we were talking about how you had the opportunity to be with him 10 or so days during the summer, but you chose a bit more time than that, didn't you?
We did. So a typical host can choose their visit times based on the amount of time. So for example, you can choose a visit in June where it's 8 days, or you can choose a visit in August where they're staying for longer, for 12. Well, after the second year, we decided that was not long enough with this child. So we would bring him in on the bus the first visit, and we wouldn't send him back to New York till they were sending the kids back at that last visit. So he would be with us June to August, right before he went back to school.
That's great. So the entire summer.
Right.
So there was so much bonding and growth as a family with him, wasn't it?
There was. My son's an only child. And so having to have shared his parents for the summer was a struggle for him to begin with. And it was a real growth opportunity for him to mature a little bit, to share, to learn how to get along in his home with his space and his toys and all of those things. And so it was an incredible bonding experience for the two of them. And Kevin could not have been a gentler, more loving soul with my son. And so he was just the perfect child to have in our home.
Well, that's great. What has your son said since about that relationship?
Oh my goodness. You know, it doesn't matter how much time goes by that we haven't connected with Kevin. As soon as he talks to him on the phone or through text messages, it's like they're picking up as their long lost friends.
Yeah.
And it's been wonderful to watch that relationship grow as they're both now in their 20s.
Wow, that's amazing. And they were 6. That's just
I know.
great. So some of the areas that are growth development for the Fresh Air kids, inner strength. What did you see with Kevin?
Yes. Kevin came from an extremely loving environment with two parents who just loved him to pieces. He also had some struggles with their health. And so he would come to us and talk about that pain and concern around his parents and their health. And he would just show a resilience that I did not see in young children.
Oh, wow.
So it was something very early on. I noticed the independence in him and having a lot more responsibility at his age that most children don't have.
Some of the other things too, life skills and to be able to take on challenges. What did you see the growth with Kevin in these areas?
Well, I think it's amazing when a 6-year-old can get on a bus in New York, get off in Lancaster County or up and down the East Coast, and have never laid eyes on the family they're going to spend a couple of weeks with, and be able to do that successfully and not want to go home. And of course, there's always cases where that does happen, and then that's fairly normal and natural. However, when kids can kind of push through that and find their strength to say, I'm a little bit scared, but I'm going to do it anyway, I saw that with him as well the first couple of years.
Because that was a challenge, being away from home.
Of course, your comfort zone.
Yeah.
His comfort zone.
And really developing and honing life skills outside of the family unit that he was a part of, and now adapting to a new family unit.
Yes, and I think he was exposed to life skills and a different way you could do life that he would not have been exposed to had he not been in this program. For example, the first summer he was with us, my son and Kevin were in their pajamas eating breakfast, and my husband came in the room ready for work, dressed in a suit and tie, and Kevin said, "Where's Mr. Murray going?" I said, "He's going to work." And he said, "Well, what do you mean?" And he said, "Go get dressed. I'm going to take you to work." And that was his first experience being exposed to someone who was working full time outside of the home. And so that started a whole conversation at age 6 about what it takes to get a good job, and this is why we can go on a vacation every year, and we have this home. And so little did I know he had never been exposed to that.
Speaking of vacations, you took him there too, didn't you?
We did. We had so much fun with him on vacations. I'll never forget, we took him to the Maryland shore for the first time, and he jumped out of the car and he just started running straight for the ocean. And I thought, he's not going to keep going. I'm like, Kevin, you have to stop. You can't swim yet. And so he just couldn't believe it. He goes, "I thought this was only something you would see on TV." And there he was at the ocean, and we took him every summer after that.
You took him to Florida too, didn't you?
We did, on his first airplane ride, and he was like in the seat, just couldn't contain himself, didn't want to be in the seatbelt to be on the plane.
You also took him to a game that he was more interested in something else, I think?
Oh my goodness, yes. My son and Kevin were just talking about this. So we took him to the Philadelphia 76ers game, and he was probably about 8.
Okay.
And we were staying at a local hotel down there. And we got to the hotel, and they came, brought cookies and warm milk to the room, 2 little boys there. And Kevin didn't want to go to the Sixers game. He wanted to stay and jump on the bed and eat the milk and cookies. And my son was like, "How can you not want to go see the 76ers? This is what you're here for." He's like, I've never stayed in a hotel. I get my own bed. So it was so neat to see these first experiences through his young eyes. It was just so rewarding.
It is, and I bet your son appreciated that. It gave perspective for him on something that he would just take as an everyday event.
Absolutely. Yeah. We had our son, to all kinds of places and lots of hotels. So he just couldn't believe that this is your first time. You're 8 years old. And so he did learn to appreciate things more.
So some of the other things is building relationships and a support network. Well, that's exactly what's happened here, right?
I think so. I really made it intentional about our interaction with him and our involvement every summer. It wasn't just about running around and catching fireflies and going to the beach. It was the conversations we had around that we were always going to be here to support him through whatever life's trials were going to be. And little did we know he was going to be very much experiencing those trials.
Yeah. Expanding perspectives and setting goals. And he set some great goals, didn't he?
Oh my goodness, he sure did. He was going to be the only one to graduate high school from his family. And every year I put him on the bus to send him back to New York. I whispered in his ear, "Who's going to be sitting in the front row at your high school graduation?" Just to let him know, I'm going to be there, so you better be there too.
Exactly.
And he graduated from a school in the South Bronx 4 years ago, and my son and I were there cheering him on the whole way. He graduated second in his class.
Oh, that's so impressive.
So that was a goal he set for himself while the tragic loss of both of his parents and a brother while he was in high school.
Oh my.
So what he experienced and the trials and the stress and the pain, and yet was able to stand up there and give a speech as second in his class.
Oh, that's just amazing. So he has an extended family that he's with in the...
Very limited.
Okay.
Very limited support system for him in New York. And so that's why I thought it's been very critical for me to stay in touch with him, to let him know I know the distance, the miles separate us a bit, but I'm always a phone call away.
Yeah. And his perspective has grown immensely, hasn't it?
Oh, just getting outside of his environment, meeting other people that have different lifestyles and have achieved things that he would never have put on his radar. absolutely has given him completely different perspective, which has kind of led him to where he is now.
Yeah. Well, knowing you too, Lisa, I see your positive energy, and I know the support that you have and what you must have infused into him when he, well, first came to you and then through these years, because you've had this long-term relationship.
I tried really hard, and again, I was just really intentional about it. Before he would even come, my son and I would talk about, what do we want to do this year, and what are the kind of things that we think are important now that he's this age. And there were different conversations that Kevin and I had as he got a little older, going closer to the teen years, that maybe he wasn't having with anybody in his home. And I thought, I'm having this conversation with my son, wonder who's having that with him. And so I would just take him out for ice cream, the two of us, and we would have some of those private talks.
Yeah. Well, I know this is a family for you. They're truly,
Absolutely.
This is a family.
Absolutely, yes.
So you got to experience something very exciting just this past spring.
I did. On Mother's Day, Kevin, with all of his might, graduated with a Bachelor's of Mechanical Engineering degree from Alfred State University. And he did so with so much grace and resilience and perseverance because of what he has been through in his life. He said, well, no one's going to do this for me. I need to do it for myself. And all those years we talked about education and how this will be the critical turning point. And it just may be the thing that brings him out of that poverty and brings him out of a situation that he felt like there was no control. And now he has all the control.
Wow. That is priceless.
It is.
Isn't it?
Yes. My heart was just bursting watching him walk across that stage.
Yeah. What would you say to someone who's considering taking in a fresh air child?
I would definitely say get more information, do your research and talk to your family, because this is a family. A family event. It's something that your whole family has to embrace. We also have hosts that are single. So I want to mention that. You can be a single person and also host a child. So that's super important. Again, it's just the right fit on getting the child that's going to work for you. And get the most information that you can. Talk to your family and then reach out to the Fresh Air Fund.
Yeah. So we're going to put that information where you can reach out locally and get all the information that you need to do this. Thank you so much, not only for doing this show, but for doing what you did with Kevin all those years and helping other kids get placed as well, because that has made a world of difference and it affects all of us as a community.
I hope so. Thanks, Diane.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you for joining us today too. I'm Diane Dayton with Behind the Lines, reminding you to look behind the lines. You might be surprised what you find. We're going to leave you with a clip from college graduation that kind of sums it up with Lisa and with Kevin. This is good. Check it out.
Kevin, congratulations! Oh my gosh, I'm so proud of you. You got your bachelor's degree in mechanical engineering.
Technology.
Yes!
Thank you so much.
Oh my gosh, can you believe you've made it this far?
4 years of stress. No, I definitely could not believe it. But without the Fresh Air Fund and you guys, I definitely can't thank you anymore. You opened up opportunities for me that I never would have seen if I would have stayed in the Bronx. And because of that, you guys opened up a lot of, how do I say, advantages and opportunities. I'm a little nervous right now.
Oh, I'm so proud of you.
I'm just like still trying to overcome graduating. It's sad. It's still a sad day. So, but
well, it's a proud day for me as your Fresh Air mom.
Yes.
And the 9 years you spent in my home in the summertime, we just kept talking about school and how important it was for you to graduate high school. And I showed up in my hot pink dress at your high school graduation.
That's my graduation.
And today I picked blue
dress,
right?
definitely.
And even though it was pouring down rain, it cannot take away
whatsoever
anything from this moment. So congratulations,
I
Kevin.
appreciate
We
you so
love
much.
you. We love you. Congratulations.
Thank you.